Hello, hello, hello. It is Thanksgiving week, and so with that, let's talk about Thanksgiving and your nutritional goals. Thanksgiving creates a very unique challenge, I'll say, for those of us that have health goals, nutrition goals, especially if you're kind of near the beginning of your journey, if you're still in the process of building the skills that you need to be able to live and the body that you want to live in. And the reason it presents a unique challenge is because by its very nature, it puts us in a tug of war competition between our goals on one hand and social expectations, internal social expectations. So whether it's, kind, wonderful family, kind of pushing and nudging food onto us, or maybe our own internal story about how we should fit in and how we should engage on a holiday, that becomes this pull. And of course it doesn't, you can't see it visually on the outside, but it's an internal conflict. It's this internal experience that if you're like me, it might show up in ways like butterflies in your stomach or a churning in your stomach. Have you ever been at a Thanksgiving where you know that you have these goals, but there's all this food, there's all these people, everybody's doing it, and so instead you just feel knots in your stomach, or you feel, just this general discomfort, which of course is anxiety. So that inner conflict is creating anxiety, and that alone would, makes us feel uncomfortable when we're at the celebration that we're supposed to be enjoying. But what often goes even more awry in the situation is that we react to that anxiety. So it's not just the anxiety that causes us trouble, it's our reaction to it. And so sometimes this can show up as a rebelling. So I know I've experienced times where I feel that conflict and I decide, F it, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Even though I haven't actually thought through what I really want, I just know in that moment, I want the anxiety to go away. And so I'm gonna take the easy road out, which is just eat and whatever and deal with the consequences later. Another way that you might respond to this is by feeding your anxiety. So it might just be you're experiencing this turmoil inside you. And so again, rather than sticking with your goals or coping with it in different ways, you might just start kind of, obsessively eating throughout the day. That might mean grazing, it might mean eating a lot, but it's trying to soothe your anxiety by eating. And then finally, a third way, and I'm sure there are innumerable ways that we might respond to this anxiety of this inner turmoil, but this particular way is one that I succumb to, or I have succumbed to in my past for sure, and that is to try and make the anxiety disappear by making the food disappear. And so I don't know if you can relate to this, but basically it looks like this. You're standing in front of this table, there's a piece of pie there, and maybe you're full, like you're full, you don't want any food, but you're feeling anxiety, and you know that you do like that pie, and so rather than think through it or walk away, you eat it as fast as you can. You make it disappear, and in hopes that will make your anxiety disappear. And so if you're with me so far, you probably know where this tale ends. Regardless of how you try to deal with your anxiety, what it turns into is at the end of the night, you're stuffed. You are stuffed to the gills. And on top of that, you feel ashamed because you did not do what you wanted to do. And then to make matters even worse, you've got a little bit of fear of what the scale is gonna look like the next morning when you step on it, knowing you're gonna gain weight And you're also afraid that all of the progress you've made leading up to this day, in one fell swoop, you've ruined it. So that's a nice little side helping of shame and pain and anxiety to go with your Thanksgiving dinner that none of us ever want to sign up for. Hey, Angela, good to see you on here. And so what's the antidote for this? How are we able to enjoy this holiday the way we want to enjoy it? My answer to that is called inner alignment. And inner alignment, I don't know if you've ever, it's the opposite of inner turmoil, inner conflict. And you might have heard of this term, but if you haven't, I define inner alignment very simply as when what you want lines up with the actions and behaviors that you do. So when what you want and what you do, when those two things combine, that's inner alignment. And inner alignment is an incredibly powerful thing. If you imagine inner turmoil as you having a foot on the brake and a foot on the brake, and a foot on the accelerator, and you're gridlocked and not moving. Inner alignment allows you to pull that foot off the brake and press that accelerator down, and you've just got open road of progress. That's what inner alignment does. So the real question then is, how do we get inner alignment on Thanksgiving Day? What does this actually look like on Thanksgiving Day? Well, you start by knowing what it is you want. So I talked in a previous video about, you start by asking yourself, how do you want to feel the next day? Do you want to continue to move towards your goals, or, are you okay if you gain some weight? And that's an important thing to know. I've noticed a lot of people, their first instinct is, I want to keep moving towards my goals. But I want to dig into that just a little bit. Knowing what you want is also really tied in to knowing who you are. And knowing who you are, when we're talking about nutrition, the key to knowing that is understanding that nutrition is a game. It's really a game. And in the game of nutrition, there are 3 levels of play. So I'm going to introduce to you those 3 playing levels right now. And this is going to help you figure out what your goal is, what your intention is for your Thanksgiving holiday. So a level 1 player, a level 1 nutritional player, that is we'll call an average person. Don't worry, no one's average. But that's an average person their nutrition is meant to support their lifestyle. So they have very basic nutrition skills, and that they generally know what foods support them. They recreationally work out. They might work out, they might work out somewhat intensely, but for the most part, a level 1 player, their nutrition is meant as support. They don't want to spend their whole day, they don't want to revolve their whole day around their nutrition. That's a level 1 player. And just to be clear, in order to be a level 2 or level 3 player, you have to have level 1 player skills down. Most people, the large majority of people that have fitness goals or that are at all mindful of what they're doing with their health, most people are level 1 players in that game. A level 2 player is a player that has performance goals. So they might have perhaps a marathon runner, or maybe you play in an indoor soccer league and you take the season very seriously, or in some way you get paid for having a physique that your physique needs to match your performance levels, and you get paid for it. A level 2 player has higher skills as far as nutrition goes. So they're okay focusing a lot of their attention on their nutrition. That might also include a gym owner or a nutrition coach. So to give you a clue, I'm a level 2 a level 2 player. And so what that means is a level 2 player might also be able to move in and out of level 1 and level 2 as it suits her. So in my case, a normal week, I'm measuring out food, I know exactly what I'm eating, but when I go on vacation, I move back into level 1 playing skills, like eyeing my portions, things like that. A level 3 a level 3 player rather, that is a person who has very specific physique goals that they have to attain, and they most likely get money for it. So for example, a UFC fighter, someone who has to make weight for a competition, or an actor, or a fitness model. Those are all examples of level 3 players. Now, keep in mind, to be able to function at a level 3, this is a person that they track absolutely everything, and they have to manipulate those numbers very strategically in order to get to the goal that they want. Oftentimes, this person, they have to revolve their whole life, their whole social life around their nutrition. And they don't live at level 3 for very long. So one example that I have is Henry Cavill, Superman. I don't know if this is actually true, but I heard this anecdote that I think represents level 3 players quite well. He had a scene, and I think it was the first Superman, where he had his shirt off, and he needed his abs to look abtastic. And so, in order to get to that point, he had several weeks prior to that day of shooting where he was eating like chicken and broccoli, and everything was measured out and everything was manipulated for that one scene. And I'm pretty sure that he had food on set to dig into after, because he had to go through so much rigor just to get that shot. That is a level 3 player right there. And again, he nor any other level 3 players stay at that level for more than maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months at a time, and then they go back down to level 2. So those are the 3 levels of players. What does this have to do with Thanksgiving? How can I apply this? Knowing what level of player you are is going to help you decide how to behave on Thanksgiving Day, and how it's going to help you choose your goals for that day. So, for example, if you realize, hey, I'm a level 1 player, are you going to bring your scale to dinner and weigh everything out? Probably not. Probably not. Even if your intention is to still keep moving towards your goal, because a level 1 player does not want to stop the world to measure everything, she is more likely than not going to use things like her hand to kind of measure her portions. She might also eyeball it. So if you are a person who's been measuring your food, then you kind of know what 100 grams of meat looks like. You're going to kind of guesstimate. You might still log your food in MyFitnessPal, but again, you haven't created the food, you haven't measured it. So instead, you're going to look up roasted turkey or whatever, and then you're going to kind of guesstimate which one to use. Is this exact? No, you're not measuring exactly at that point, and that's not the point. The point of measuring when we can't be 100% accurate is simply this. In the nutritional game, you can eat any food that you want. You can eat all the food on the table. However, you can't eat it all at once. Because if you eat it all at once, that's when you end up in a body you don't want to be in. So we have to prioritize it. And so even those basic measurements of, okay, I'm only going to eat about a palm-sized portion of meat, that's going to help pull the reins in enough that you can still enjoy your food. Nobody has to see you pull out your scale. Nobody has to ask like, hey, what are you doing over there? And you can still enjoy the day. So that's a level 1 player. A level 2 player, they might bring their food scale to dinner. I'll tell you, for me as a level 2 player, my response on Thanksgiving Day, I move into level 1. So I use my own common sense. I use my hunger fullness cues. I don't want to be too stuffed. I don't want to starve myself. And I rate my food. I already know at Thanksgiving, I don't particularly like stuffing. I can't eat stuffing because it's got wheat in it. That works out well. But even if I could, I would just bypass the stuffing. Don't eat it, don't like it. I want to waste my calories on other things. So that's a level 2 client. A level 3 player, I said client again. It's because I'm thinking about my clients. A level 3 player will absolutely bring their scale, or the truth of it, they're probably not showing up to dinner. I can tell you, if I had like a photo shoot on Friday or Saturday or the week after, it would probably be just too difficult for me to have to worry about somebody else feeding me. I would just stay home and skip Thanksgiving dinner that year. So hopefully by now you can see how important it is to identify what level of play, what level player you are in the nutritional game right now. Because from there, then you can choose what your actions are going to be. So here is what you can do today with this information. Here is what I invite you to do. I invite you, if you have a journal, some kind of a nutrition journal, and if you are on a path of transformation, I absolutely encourage you get yourself some kind of a journal. Not that you have to have some practice around journaling it every day, but just when you get ideas or observations or ahas, that you can write those down and have those to look back on. What you can do today, what I invite you to do, is grab a journal and you're gonna write 3 prompts down. The first prompt that you're gonna write down, the first question you're gonna ask yourself is, what level of nutritional play, what level player am I in the nutrition game? What level of player am I in the nutritional game? And you're gonna answer that. The second question that I want you to answer, or the second prompt, I want you to envision what you are going to think, feel, and do on Friday morning. Think, feel, and do. So when you wake up in the morning, are you gonna step on the scale? And if you do, what are you gonna think about that? And how are you gonna feel about it? How do you want to feel about it? So all of this is just envisioning your perfect world. You've got absolute control over everything. What does your Friday morning look like the day after Thanksgiving? And then we just reverse engineer it from there. On Thanksgiving Day, this is your third prompt. On Thanksgiving Day, what is your intention for the day? What do you want to get out of your Thanksgiving? Do you want to try a lot of different new foods that you don't often get? Do you want to connect to your family? Do you want to celebrate with food? Yeah, it might seem like a simple question, but a lot of times, we get so caught up in the food aspect of it that if we just bring ourselves back to, well, what's the point of the day for you, not for somebody else? So I know I'm going to be going to visit my dad and my stepmom, and my point of the day is to connect with them, and part of that connection will be the physical act of breaking bread with them. Right? It's like that enjoying the food together. So for me, enjoying the food doesn't mean like stuffing myself. Enjoying the food means savoring it and enjoying conversation while I eat and things like that. So, but this is about you. So those are your 3 questions that I invite you to, your 3 prompts I invite you to write down. What level of player are you in the nutritional game? How do you want to think and feel? What do you want to do the day after Thanksgiving? And then what's your intention for the day? And then hopefully you come up with some interesting, helpful answers. And definitely comment below if you have any questions or comments, anything you can relate to in this. And you guys, my intention for you is that you have a relaxing, safe, wonderful Thanksgiving Day where you celebrate and you are fully present and you experience your own inner alignment that day. Awesome. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk soon. Bye now.